There is Dr. Theyiesinuo Keditsu.
Walter, now the session has started.
Yeah, she will begin, I think. Theyiesinuo, I suggest that you begin and let Ahau come later. She is assistant professor of English at Kohima College, Nagaland. I think I'll introduce one by one, and then Misinam will take over the coordination of the talks. I'll introduce each speaker before they speak. Yes, come in. There's no.
I thought
we may just be having some connectivity issues with some, so you'll have to bear with us.
No, I thought you were playing a pre-recorded video.
Yes, which one are we starting off with?
With mine, Dr. Theyiesinuo. Folklore as Big History. Thank you.
Folklore as Big History. Folklore in indigenous and tribal societies are storehouses of indigenous knowledge. Origin myths, stories about nature, flora, fauna, stories about ancestors, and stories about moments in time and places, etc., all coalesce together to provide a people their sense of place in this world, conferring identities and inculcating customs of relating to one's community and the world. Drawing on folktales from the rich canon of Naga folklore, this presentation will look at the ways folklore offers an alternative arc of big history. My presentation will take the form of storytelling, where I will try to share as many folktales as possible to demonstrate how the timelessness of folklore serves to inform our place in time, a time where past, present, future fold into each other. For instance, in one myth about our origins, it is said that in the land our ancestors came from, on one day a person was born. The second day he or she was crawling. On the third, we were walking. On the fourth, we were children. The fifth, we were young. The sixth, we married. The seventh, we were parents. The eighth, we were old and bent over, and so on. Upon first hearing the story, one imagines a mythical utopia that defies our modern conceptions of time and biology. And we place this in the realm of past fantasy or future science fiction. This was until some Nagas traveled to Scandinavia in modern times and returned with a fresh interpretation of an age-old origin myth. One where a day and the night after stretched for the duration of many months, allowing for a child to be born on one day, and when the sun rose again, be old enough to crawl. Looking through these new lenses, we could now sit around our hearths and entertain the possibility that our ancestors came from the North Pole, and suddenly a mythical history could be traced back to footsteps on a real map across the globe to a time that really was and still is today. One would only have to return to this real region to experience a literal unfolding of our origin myth. Folklore also does not distinguish between the stuff of matter, solid, liquid, gas, earth, wind, fire. The poet Robert Frost wrote, "We dance round in a ring and suppose, but the secret sits in the middle and knows." We can say folklore has known secrets that science can only glimpse as it dances around in a ring. The Aos, along with some other Naga tribes, trace their origins to a place called Lungtorok, which translates as 6 stones. This This is where 3 women and 3 men burst out of stone and became the human ancestors of these tribes. Other tribes believe they emerged from caves deep in the ocean, others from water. In the realm of folklore, human flesh is just another iteration of the substance of nature. This understanding informed our interactions with our mountains, forests, rocks, and water, all believed to be imbued with some kind of the same life force, either animated or possessed by spirits, and capable of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. One of the most important and prevalent ways we communicated with nature was through dreams. In dreams, the natural world spoke to us of their desires, consenting, negotiating, consulting, and directing us as to how we should conduct ourselves with them. This is why our ancestors asked permission from mountains and trees before cutting them in their dreams, why it is considered a bad omen to disrupt the course of rivers, why certain stones were sacred, and when, after conversion to Christianity, those who desecrated them experienced real illness, misfortune, and even madness. If big history weaves all disciplines together to create a lifeline for humanity and the crises this earth faces today, then it follows in the tradition of folklore, which conceived of the world as an integrated entirety. To know one part, one had to know everything else. Folklore teaches us about our ties to flora and fauna. In fact, folk tales of most tribes trace the ancestry of tiger and man to the same mother, brothers who parted ways because their third and eldest brother's spirit favored man in a contest, enabling him to win. Angered by this betrayal, the tiger leaves for the forest and warns man of the dangers that await if he leaves the safety of the village. Despite this enmity, which demands and justifies why one must kill the other if they meet, all tribes considered it taboo to eat the meat of the tiger, and when a man killed his brother tiger, he had to mourn him and observe rituals reserved for one's human brethren. Further, the Sami folktale of Keditsu, who killed tiger cubs while their mother was away, explains why a person who has killed a tiger can no longer eat certain herbs as long as he lives, as penance. The Sami folktale about a war between birds and reptiles helps to explain why some indigenous birds look the way they do, and provided an oral taxonomy for ancient bird watchers. After the eagle defeated the king cobra, the birds divided its flesh. The crow rubbed itself in the gall and became black. The Indian scarlet minivet rubbed itself in the blood and became red. The ruby throat arrived late and took the last remaining blood and smeared it on its chin, which is why it has a red chin. Nagas have an oral culture, one where knowledge was passed on from one generation to another through dormitory-based institutions organized on the lines of gender and age. Folktales like these were means by which each new generation learned about why plants and animals look the way they do, as well as the hierarchies and conventions that governed interactions and relations between and amongst humans, plants, and animals. This was not just the precursor of natural science and history. It can still now provide alternative explanations for adaptation and species interactions. Naga folklore marks a time when birds, animals, and humans shared the same language. In fact, when dog befriended man, he divulged so many secrets of the animals to him. This allowed man to kill almost all the animals in the forest. Fearing that all the animals would become extinct, the Creator pulled out the dog's tongue to keep him from talking to man. The dog lost its ability to speak so other animals could live. And this is why the dog still hangs out its tongue from its mouth. Shared language is also the way animals taught humans to find precious resources and taught them about which plants were food, medicine, or poison. The Sangtam share a folktale with few other tribes about how water was found. Before there was clear water, people harvested water from the hollows of cane. This water was tinted red and colored food that it was cooked in. Simpirong was working in the fields with his brother Yemsipirong when he heard a kipilong, or red-vented bulbul, call out to them, "Yemsipirong, Simpirong, there's water in the rocks." The brothers followed the bulbul, who led them to a rock marked with small holes all over its surface. In these small holes, the brothers found clear water. They kept their secret from other people in the village, using this water to drink, cook, and wash only for themselves. One day during community work, when the men broke for lunch and opened their food packs, the others saw the rice of the brothers was white while theirs was red. They followed the brothers secretly the next day and found the rock with pools of clear water in it. Because the brothers belonged to the Ruti Tongra clan, whenever the villagers do community work, this clan is not allowed to cook, serve food, or even sit in the kitchen. They are only served rice and meat without a drop of gravy, because it is believed that if they eat with gravy, it would rain too heavily and destroy the crops. So a folktale about finding clear water with the help of a bird becomes a manual for kinship, social structure, customs, and also a kind of ecological practice. Folktale provides an alternative trajectory to scientific empirical methods and presents unconventional metaphysical answers for why we are the way we are. Folklore imagines the world as an interconnected community where harmony and balance are vital to survival. This is not to say that all structures folklore reinforces are just. For example, definitely not in those that further the cause of patriarchy. But learning about these networks allows us to understand our current circumstance and rethink our notions of what constitutes harmony or balance. Folklore's ontologies direct us towards social action based on empathy and an awareness that all actions have consequences beyond the individual and even beyond the human. Colonization and Western academic discourse have relegated folklore to the realm of the creative, often going further to strip these narratives of their political stimulus, positing them as merely primitive entertainment. This presentation proposes that folklore needs to be brought back to the sphere of the political and be reinstated as a frame of reference through which we can engage contemporary challenges.